Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Jean-Pod Van Damme cast. It is Jeff and John in studio, and today we are getting into that weird, awkward part of Van Damme's filmography where we don't know. It's one of those where, as an actor, you start out by making cameos in films, hoping to be noticed. Then you get recognized and you start creating films to the point where you're famous, so that people can ask you to do cameos in their films and television shows. So it's kind of the circle of life, I guess,
it's
right?
it's like the life cycle of a star, where like it expands and then it contracts and becomes a hyper dense black hole of cameos.
Yep, that black hole of cameos, which is fun for fans, and I'm sure fun when you're an actor when you've already made your money and you're like, oh yeah, sure, I'll do a little cameo here and a cameo there. That's all right, as long as you still pay me. So today's episode, we are going to be talking about Van Damme's part in Las Vegas, the television series.
That everyone remembers.
TV 14 crime drama. The episodes are an hour long, basically 45 minutes when you cut out commercials. The main overhead synopsis for the television series is welcome to the Montecito Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, where you can do anything you want, but Ed Deline, I don't know, and his crack surveillance team will be watching. Just remember, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Tagline, fast, furious, fun. And it was released originally September 22nd, 2003. It ran for, I think, 5 seasons, I want to say. There's from 2003 to 2008.
I don't remember it at all.
Yeah, I honestly don't either.
It went for 5 seasons. Was that on TNT or something?
No, it was on, I believe, what's the Peacock one, NBC?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, it was on that one.
Well, that explains it. I wasn't really...
Yeah, you're not a big NBC guy?
Yeah, network watcher.
Yeah, around that time especially, I had certain things that I did watch, like The Office, but for the most part, I was too busy with college and hanging out with people.
Nerd.
Yeah, I know. I'm such a nerd. So the cast in this is, and the people who listen who are fans of Las Vegas are probably going to kill me. Josh Duhamel, he plays Danny McCoy. James Leisure plays Mike Cannon. Vanessa Marcel plays Sam Marquez. Molly Sims plays Delinda Deline. Here's a guy that I think you all know. James Caan plays Ed Deline. Nikki Cox plays Mary Connell. And there's a whole bunch of other people. Oh, Tom Selleck was in it.
Hell yeah.
Hey, how you doing, Tom Selleck?
We got ourselves a show now.
Yeah, and did I say Nikki Cox? Yeah, I think I said Nikki Cox. Mitch Longley played Mitch Sasson. I'm just looking at the number of
porn star names.
I know, some of them do. You're right. I was just looking at the people who had the most episodes in. So, Josh, you know him. You've seen him around. He is in Transformers as Captain Major Linux.
Is that the guy who invented the operating system?
Yep, he did. He loves penguins and fedoras.
Who doesn't?
That's what I say. He was in Chips recently, that movie remake.
Oh, that one that did so well.
He was in 11/22/63. We were just talking about Stephen King off air. So there's the coincidence there. I'm trying to see some other stuff. Jake and the Neverland Pirates as Captain Flynn. Skylanders Superchargers.
Oh, that was it. That was it.
Yeah, definitely. Movie 43, which is basically by the people who wrote all the Wayans Brothers films. This was their 43rd movie, I guess, script that they wrote, that's what they called it.
That's really good.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible. I did see it.
Really? You saw it?
Yeah, I did see it. It was a lot better than some of their other stuff. He was in All My Children.
That I could believe.
Transformers.
I think you already
said
that.
Yeah. Again. He was in When in Rome as Nick. Transformers.
Wow. So I didn't realize I had that many recurring characters in Transformers that weren't giant robots.
I know, right?
Does he play Giant Robot?
No, he was one of the military guys.
Oh, okay.
Turistas.
Weren't like the later Transformers movies like loose sequels, or were they direct sequels? Because they switched main characters.
I know they switched characters around. I have no clue. I stopped watching after like the second one.
Yeah,
to be
me
honest
too.
With you.
Hell yeah.
Win a Date with Tad Hamilton, Ed, and
Ed and Eddie.
Donna Summer. I Will Go With You as the Man. Donna Summer. Awesome.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I thought he was in a lot more stuff than what I named off,
Must
even
have
though
been
I named off a
Transformers.
lot of stuff,
Yeah.
but all those Transformers. James Leisure, I apologize if I'm butchering his name. I'm terrible with names. He was in For Your Love as Mel Ellis, and The Ring 2 as the Doctor. And I'm sure there's other ones. I'm quickly not going to list all these people and what they've done. James Caan is basically the only other one that I want to list. He was in The Godfather as Sonny, Misery as Paul Sheldon, Las Vegas as Ed DeLine. He has a ton of movies to his name. Undercover Grandpa as the Grandpa. He has 129 film credits to his name. That's pretty sweet. He's still working, man. He is still working. I told Jeff off air that I was like, oh yeah, I know I've seen this guy before. Like he's got one of those faces, you know it. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2, Hawaii Five-0, That's My Boy with Adam Sandler, The Annoying Orange. Cloudy with a Chance
for real?
Of
He was in The
Meatballs.
Annoying Orange?
Yeah, he's
like
in
the movie or the show?
I think
Was it
the TV series. Yeah, only one episode in it. Get Smart as the movie remake.
I never did see that. Love the show.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible. I mean, I love the show way better, but he was in the Godfather video games too.
Sweet.
That's pretty sweet that he reprised his role. Yep, he was an Elf as Walter the dad. Just in case. That's where I was like, oh yeah, I know you. Which you would think that I would know him in The Godfather, but
No.
I only know him as his old self, really. Once after a while. He's been doing film for a long time. He was in Mickey Blue Eyes as well.
Huh.
And Bulletproof, Eraser. Oh, man.
He was in Eraser?
Yeah, could you imagine doing some Schwarzenegger films too?
Oh.
That'd be pretty fun.
Hell yeah. I've seen pretty much every Schwarzenegger movie, except for his more recent stuff.
Yeah. Dick Tracy as well. Wow. It's so weird. He has so many roles to his name that it's so, like, when it says he's known for, I seriously thought Elf would have been one of the top three. You know, obviously The Godfather is going to be the first thing. But, like, I was surprised Las Vegas was the third. But whatever. So, anyway, getting into it.
So here we are at a casino in Las Vegas.
Believe it or not, I know that's kind of hard to believe. Van Damme appears in Season 1, Episode 15, titled Die Fast, Die Furious. That was in 2004. After the famous actor Jean-Claude Van Damme dies when he is filming a dangerous stunt in the Montecito, the security team has doubts about it being an accident. This particular episode got 7.9 out of 10 stars.
Hey, hell yeah.
Yeah, there you go. The director for this was Tucker Gates. The writers were Gary Scott Thompson, who was the creator, and Adele Lim and others. There's actually trivia for this, too.
Sweet.
Ooh, nice. There's one piece of trivia for it, so can't wait to get into that.
Is it a juicy one?
It didn't look like it. I don't know though. I didn't really read it. I just glanced. Yeah. So here we go. Oh, that's my Wake of Death notes. Van Damme sitting on a couch. Meanwhile, he's going back and forth. Now, it opens up with a dude walking out of an elevator, looking pretty badass. We're like, who is this guy? It's Van Damme. And they really did a terrible job with casting extras in this because Van Damme looks very, very short. Like, he's walking out, and I was like, you do not do a faraway shot with Van Damme because you compare him to what you all see, the slot machines, the tables, the palm tree plants inside, and Van Damme just looks like a very short dude. Which, I mean, he is a short dude, but he's not terribly short. He's like 5'9".
Yeah, that's not too bad.
On a good day, I think.
It's about as tall as Tom Cruise, right?
No, Tom Cruise is shorter.
Is he?
Yeah, because I'm 5'9", and like I think his build height, we're getting into wrestling, I think they bill his height at 5'9", but I've heard Cruz is more like 5'6", 5'7", maybe.
He's just a little guy.
He's a little guy. So Van Damme's walking around, checking girls out. He goes to this private table, reaches into his jacket, pulls out a wad of cash while all these bouncers think he's going to pull out a gun or something. And he says to this lady who's playing at it, "My employer was a little vexed at your disappearance." She says, "What are you going to do? Shoot me in a crowded casino?" And then Van Damme pulls out guns and starts shooting the guys. And they stare at each other with the guns drawn. Van Damme shoots, and it's empty. She laughs, and then we hear, "And cut." Oh, man. And they're like, "Hey, Jean-Claude, great work. Ha, ha, ha."
That must have been a really interesting opening to the episode for like the average watcher who had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, too. Like,
the show probably doesn't have like shootouts at the beginning of every episode.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I thought this was probably just going to be like a CSI Las Vegas ripoff, which, I mean, I guess it kind of is in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really forensic. It's more detective drama.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's almost like a little bit of CSI, a little bit of Forensic Files, a little bit of
Like
Law and Order
Blue,
in a weird
yeah.
way, trying to figure out what's going on. Detroit 187, may that show rest in peace. We see that Van Damme's playing an actor. It's Van Damme playing his role.
The role he was born for.
He knows Ed, the main guy, the old guy. And he's like, "How are you?" And he needs to get his makeup done. He's talking to the Josh dude. And the guy is like talking with Van Damme, and Van Damme's telling his story of how he became a star, and it's his legitimate story.
Yep.
Actually. And the guy was like, "Time Cop was one of my favorites," and Van Damme's like, "Oh, I got to go see you, bye." And then he mumbles under his breath, "The sequels suck," which I thought was funny, but I was like, well, Van Damme wasn't in the sequels though. So, I mean, yeah, definitely. I agree. I agree with you. So
Everyone should agree.
I don't know why you would say that joke, because you're like, Van Damme wasn't in them. You were kind of trying to make fun of Van Damme. Whatever.
Maybe Van Damme wrote it.
Yeah, maybe.
He might have directed
Ooh.
it. He's done some directing.
He's directed 3 films. He didn't. I just looked it up. He wasn't. That's not one of them that he directed. So
maybe he ghost directed it.
Oh, maybe under a different name.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, I like it. And this is when I started to realize, I was like, I know these guys, but I don't think I've ever actually caught an episode of Las Vegas. And Josh Lennox, Captain Lennox, Major Lennox, Transformers Josh, he's the one that was talking to Van Damme about all this being star-spangled, like, "Oh, man, I love you, Van Damme," which is something we probably would do, too.
Mm-hmm.
And Van Damme starts talking with some girl at a club. She asks him if he can do the splits. While the guys are looking at him, they're talking over it. And I think one of the girls is one of the people that work there at the Montecito or whatever it's called. I already forget. The guys, it's 2 of the guys, 2 of the main guys, Josh and the other guy, Laser. I forgot his name. This is a bad episode. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not doing this back and forth trying to cut stuff, make it sound like I know what I'm talking about. They're looking at him. They're with a stuntman who says he can't stand JCVD, and JCVD can't stand him. The guys are all talking about the roof.
This has got to be like the shittiest pick for a stuntman, because the dude's like taller than Van Damme. He has a totally different haircut.
I know, yeah.
Totally different facial structure.
Right, exactly.
And he's a worse actor.
Yeah, he does not at all look anything similar to what Van Damme does.
Yeah, that was terrible casting for that guy.
Yeah, it just comes to find out that Josh and this dude were former Marines and buddies, and so he's talking about the stunt. It's 50 floors up. You can't wait to do it. Meanwhile, Van Damme is holding the girl's hands, and he's talking to the director about getting first dibs on all of the stunts. So really it plays out that Van Damme kind of pulls the "I'm going to tell my mom on you" card, except it's the president of the studio. And he's like, "Van Damme, this is a really serious stunt. You know, accidents can happen." And he's like, "Well, I talked to the president of the studio and he's coming over." And they go up to the roof. They talk about prepping. Guy tries to talk Van Damme out of it. They're setting him up. The stuntman tells him how to do it. You got to stay at least at 40 miles an hour. Van Damme revs up the bike. He goes. The string breaks. Van Damme falls and he dies. And his death is absolutely hilarious.
All in slow motion. And,
Yeah,
oh, man.
slow motion. He has a face on. It's like you could totally tell Van Damme was hamming this cameo up.
That's pretty
He
magical.
His face was hilarious. He's like, ah! And the next scene shows basically a tribute to Van Damme with
just hear "Everybody Hurts"
yeah,
REM playing in my head.
Dude, it had stuff saying "We'll miss you, Jean-Claude." Van Damme has a
People
autograph
crying everywhere.
picture of. Oh, dude, it was so funny. And I was laughing. I'm like, Van Damme is dead in the Las Vegas universe. It wasn't
Yep.
like they were like, hey, this is Claude Jean
Yeah.
Dam Van or something, you know, or
Nope.
Dan Vam. It was Jean-Claude Van Damme in the Las Vegas universe, and he's dead now. And I'm
It's weird to picture him being dead in any universe.
I know exactly. I like to think that he faked his death,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll see him again.
It might have been his replicant
Ooh,
or one of his twin brothers.
That's true, probably. So the director is trying to set the scene while all this is happening. Ed grabs him by the hand and tells him basically to apologize to the lady who was like, "What are you doing? You can't just continue on." And he takes the directors out. Then we get into the side story. And the side story, I'm going to take a quick aside and explain the side story. If you took the side story out of this show, we probably would have gotten about a 30-minute episode
Yeah.
all trying to figure out what happened, who killed Van Damme. The side story basically is a back and forth between a girl and a guy stealing each other's clients, and hilarity ensues. That's pretty much it.
Including a 400-pound drag queen raping someone,
Yeah.
presumably to death.
At the end, we don't know. Since this was like our first and last episode we ever watched,
I'm
we can
assuming
only
the man
assume
died.
this dude is dead. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that for you guys. The head of security, Josh, is talking with the stuntman buddy, trying to get more information out of him. You know, doesn't want to set him up, thinks that someone set the stunt up to kill him instead. We find out that the stuntman's seeing a girl, and he kind of leads it in that she's married, and
he lied to the cops about it.
yeah, he lied to the cops
Smart.
about it. That's what
Murder
you do.
investigation.
Yep. Yeah,
Lie
first
to the
thing you do,
cops.
lie to the cops about your affair. And they say only 3 people had access to the bike to modify it: the coordinator, the stuntman, and the director. And right now, the insurance investigator is ruling it an accident. The casino guys are saying, no, it's foul play, which is really funny, really weird, because they're like, we got to continue the shot. We want to get this done with. And the casino guys are like, no, we got to investigate this.
You would think it'd be, they would just be like, okay, just brush it all under the rug. No murder at the
Right,
casino over here.
You would think so too. Like they'd just be like, "Oh, what a terrible accident!
Yeah,
That's so
this-
unfortunate."
yeah,
Bye.
No, these guys.
No,
These are the
this
most.
Yep, these are casino guys with
Yep.
moral issues,
Integrity.
intelligence.
Yes.
And Ed shows the dude who's boss. He's just not taking any shit. He's just like, "No, you listen to me." McCoy tells the stuntman what's going on. The stuntman gets upset that he gave his name away. He's like, "You're an idiot, dude. You don't realize what you could be doing to yourself." So McCoy stakes out on his friend with Ed. Ed just laughs at him. It was pretty hilarious, a little back and forth between the two of those. They see that a lady pulls up to meet the guy. Guess what? It's the director's wife.
Dun dun dun.
They tell him, "We know you've been banging the wife," because at first he's like, "No, what are you talking about? No," and they're like, "Cut the shit," basically. They think the director rigged the bike to kill the stuntman, and then we see a scene come out of a Van Damme poster for the film, the fake film in the universe. The back and forth story comes back on with it turning into a date between the two. This is where the guy goes into the hotel room. It looks like they're about to get it on. She handcuffs him. You know something's up. She strips him down naked, and that's when he gets the transvestite surprise, 400-pound surprise.
We've all been there.
Candy gets a little surprise in her suite. That's what the lady said to her while they were leaving. So, meanwhile, the director sees on camera that the stuntman and his wife are going off to another room, and the director goes after them.
With a gun that was just on, I guess it was a gun on the set or something?
Yeah, man. He's like, okay.
Was it a prop? Or?
I know it was a real gun, but like...
Well, they do use real guns in movies with blanks.
Yeah, but usually they, for the most part, either it's a gun with blanks, or they pull like the pin on them so that you can't use them. They did that one show, which just so happened, I think one of the guys on it became a creep, but they did the show of them like modifying real guns for movies. And it was really
are you talking about
interesting show?
The show on the Discovery Channel
I think
where
it
the
was
guy was a
Discovery.
child molester?
Yes, yep.
Sons of Guns.
Sons of Guns, that's right.
I used to watch a show, and I was like, man, I don't like that guy. Like,
Yeah.
The show was interesting.
I think everyone said that.
Yeah, the dad was just like an unlikable asshole, like a smug prick.
Yeah.
And then it turns out he molested a bunch of children.
Yep. And then, he should rot in hell.
Yep. Well, yeah, he's rotting right now.
Yep. And so the director goes in to try to kill him. He's like, you ruined my movie and my marriage. They fight back and forth. The guys come in and they arrest the director. And it's funny because after Van Damme was like hanging out, dating the one girl who works there, but I have no clue who she is.
She's the boss's daughter.
Oh, it's the boss's daughter?
I realized that at the end of the episode.
She's like...
James Caan's daughter, yeah.
She's like, oh, seeing another guy. And he's like, glad to see you've moved on. And she's like, oh, yeah. And then leaves with the
slut.
Maintenance guys picking up the JCVD shrine. And then at the end, it says, no Jean-Claude Van Dammes were harmed or killed in the making of this episode, which was pretty hilarious and funny. I enjoyed that. So that's what we gotted.
That's what we headed.
That's what we...
It's what we done did it.
That's what we got in that episode. I guess it comes down to our splits. And it's kind of hard to do a splits on an episode where Van Damme's not like the main character, but in a weird way he was.
He was the driving force of the episode.
Yeah, what would you give this episode of Las Vegas,
I
knowing that this
enjoyed
is the only episode we've ever seen?
I actually really enjoyed it. I'd say I'd give it probably a good solid 8.
I agree with you. I totally agree.
Like I almost like it. These shows aren't normally my cup of tea, but if I were to watch a show of this format, this would probably be the one I pick.
I agree with you, man. I was just about to say the exact same thing. Like, I'm not really a big fan of these types of shows, but like this one just had enough comedy in it that I really enjoyed it, that I felt like I would sit down and watch this. Like, if I had nothing else to watch, which is never going to happen, I would binge Las Vegas and see it.
The crime, like the story wasn't too convoluted to where they try to keep you guessing to where it doesn't make any sense anymore.
Right, yeah, exactly. No,
it was very guessable what happened.
Yeah, it was very predictable. Like, you were just like, oh, it was the director.
So it wasn't this character, it had to have been this character.
Right,
because it's obviously not one of the main characters.
Yeah, so it was well-rounded. I agree. 8 splits out of 10. Moving on to the trivia of this. Danny McCoy comments that the sequel to Time Cop was inferior to the first one. Gary Scott Thompson, the creator and executive producer of Las Vegas, wrote Time Cop: The Berlin Decision. So there you go. That's the connection. That's okay.
Yep.
There we go. So you know what? That came back and that kicked my ass.
Yep.
Because I was like, I talking shit about how that comment makes no sense. Well, there we go. We figured it out. That's pretty funny. I like that.
Little inside rib.
Inside rib. Exactly. So that's it. That's the setup for that. And now we go into a movie where Van Damme does a cameo, and it's going to be probably our shortest episode yet.
For
honestly.
We do not speak the language that they were speaking.
Yeah, it is Narco: The Misadventures of Gustav Klopp. And the American, they cut the narco out of it because I guess it's supposed to be off his narcolepsy. I don't know.
But we just think of narcotics when we hear
that. Exactly, when we hear narco. So it's that's where they were going with it. I don't know.
They should have called it lepsy.
Yeah, they should have.
But then we probably would have thought of leprosy.
That's true too.
Coleps? No, then we'll think of a prolapse.
Yeah, I was just thinking that too, actually. Well,
Nothing you can do.
all right, guys, that's it.
That's our take on the film.
That's our take on. Yeah, no. Listen to that episode. It will probably come out at the same time as this one, just because it'll be so short. So, and my little give back to you, since more recently I haven't been able to get these episodes out on Tuesday because I've been so slammed with editing and creating other stuff. So. Please, if you enjoy this, rate us 5 stars on iTunes or your favorite podcatcher or podcast app. Or if you really love us, patreon.com/podbros. That helps us out tremendously. Please, honestly, give me your $1 a month.
Or else.
Or go on Amazon using our link, podbros.com. Scroll down, hit that Amazon button. Doesn't cost you anything, but helps us out in the long run. That's it. I'm done. I'm Jeff.
And I'm John.
And you have been listening to another episode of the Jean-Claude Van Damme cast. We'll miss you, Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Maybe we'll, I don't know, order a pizza, make a night of it?
Okay.
Maybe we can make out a little?